All right. Good morning, everybody. What's going on? We're here for another episode of Lambdas Who Roll Live. I'm here with my co-host Diego and a special co-host for the day, Andrew. What's going on, guys? How you doing?
Para siempre, hermanos. Good to see you again. Back from the trip from New Jersey. It's been quite a road trip. I'll say that from Virginia.
That's what's up, man. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about today. It was a great weekend. Today we wanted to take a moment to just do our reflections. I know, Andrew, you have a unique experience that you went through with this whole trip coming all the way from Virginia, like you mentioned. Ourselves, we have our own reflections and share. Fortunately, we couldn't get Fernando today. He's actually on his way back to Maryland, but shout out to Fernando for coming through and hosting with us and being part of that event. We also thank his family, Kat, and his kids for being supportive and making it happen as well. So let's get on with it. Cool? All right, anything? We good? All right. So, Andrew, man, we're glad to have you here. We really wanted to be able to talk to everybody at the open mat just a little bit, to kind of get a little tidbit of what they're going through, their experience at that moment. But unfortunately, it was very chaotic, man. It was like, at least from a management side, man, I was making sure that everything was okay. You're on, we're on, these guys were doing their thing here and there, and we weren't able to get you, but we got you today, and we want to hear, first and foremost, let's introduce you, let us know a little bit about you,
Sure.
where you're from, how you became an hermano, and then we'll get into, your experience on the event.
Absolutely. Well, glad to be here. I always watch your podcast, right? And Diego, one thing I'm sure we'll talk about this later, but congratulations on your black belt, man. Well deserved. But yeah, no. So I started my Hermandad journey, I guess, back in spring '04. That's when I was the interest of LUL, and this was back in Alpha Epsilon. So that chapter back then was VCU and UVA. Now they've done that split, so like VCU is now part of Alpha Psi. So it's like, I tell folks, hey, I'm Alpha Epsilon, they think, oh, UVA, if you study your chapters, and we have so many chapters that even we're up to like the betas now, right?
Yeah,
so it's crazy how many chapters we expanded to since then. But yeah, spring '06 line, I was a two in the line, so a deuce, right? But I guess I started my journey because I always wanted to become involved with the Latino community in school. Growing up in Northern Virginia, Fairfax, I grew up in a predominantly, I would say, white neighborhood. So I was probably the only Latino kid growing up. When we talked about like wanting to eat pupusas, if you can find that a lot in places because my background soy de El Salvador, so you found a lot of pockets of Salvadoreños here that migrated after the Civil War. But but here in Fairfax, it wasn't really too many of us. So the one thing I liked about the culture that we had was when we traveled to different chapters, everyone saw each other as that brother, right? That immediate family bond that you had. And that's something I missed in college, first generation. It was difficult to find, right? And I saw the great work that our brothers did at the school as far as connecting well with the Latino community, a lot of community service. And I love that. So that's what really got me, sparked my interest in joining and why I'm still affiliated with LUL today. Even in a graduate chapter, so I'll do a plug-in for Gamma Epsilon, the professional graduate chapter here in DC.
In DC, yeah. I know I'm in the area, but it's hard to get into to kind of catch up with those guys at the right time. It feels like every time they have an event, I got something else to do, man. But yeah, I definitely got to do a better job of getting up with you guys on the graduate level. That's great to hear, man. That's awesome. So,
and I'll do also another plug. Maybe an open mat for like a graduate level hermanos, because I have so many bros that have families and talk about. I post pictures all the time, and then my handle's down below, maybe there for Instagram. If you want to add me, I'll add you back. It's private, but that's okay. But I always post up pictures, and they're like, Andrew, man, I didn't know you rolled. That looks so cool. They talk about like the fights they saw and they like to analyze it. Like I always want to try that, but I don't know how to get into that. I'm like, well, you come out to my school, and another plug-in right here. Disciple MMA in Ashburn. So if you want to come out, a good plug-in for that, maybe open mat for the professional chapter. Let's think about that a little bit.
Absolutely. We're gonna pencil that down. And we talked about this weekend going to Maryland probably in the next 2 months or so. I even talked to Justin to try to get him to come out there. And he was all for it. So we definitely see we can make something happen and maybe tap into some of that circle, of alumni and graduate chapter members to maybe come out and benefit as well. So that'd be awesome. So let's get into it. You
Yes.
drove up. How long? How long was the trip? How long was the trip up?
It's funny. You look at Google Maps, it tells you, oh, 4 hours. I'm like, okay, no problem. But when you hit that hot pocket, like in Maryland, Baltimore, right there, it's just traffic to traffic, bumper traffic. And I was thinking to myself, man, I'm gonna be so late to this open mat because I left here at 2 o'clock. I didn't get there till an hour later, like after you guys started the event. But I still got my rolls in, so I was happy about it. So it was a 5-hour trip overall.
Wow, man. And so that, for us, you coming out all the way from Virginia, and the same thing, like, with Fernando, Justin, guys coming from, I say Gabe, coming from a little further south, making that time on a Friday, right? On a Friday, which was interesting because, some of us had to work. I don't know if you took off that day or whatever, but making the time to come up, it really shows, your dedication and your belief into what we're doing, right? Into, trying to, obviously we're creating a space and environment for brothers to come and train and learn, but also to come and hang out and experience that at Hermandad. A lot of us, at the graduate level or or in the professional level, we're not as involved. We've talked about this before because of family, because of careers. So an event like this really, provides an opportunity to unite two things in one, right? The jiu-jitsu, training, physical fitness, trying to get in shape and stuff. At the same time, the brotherhood, right? So that's a beautiful thing. And I really thank you, man, for coming up. 5-hour trip. It's not easy, but you made it through, man. And you got that at least a few rows in. I'm glad for that.
And you talk about the most important part, making time, right? So I did take paid time off. And because I'm passionate about this, and I'm also passionate about meeting hermanos that I've never met before, that also are passionate about the sport. Some people consider it a sport, some people consider it a way of life, right? And the great thing about this is that you get different folks that walk into your gym from different walks of life. You have professionals that are cops, doctors, even like architects, people that work with their hands. I work behind a desk as an analyst, so it's good to meet new folks that are passionate about this. That's why I came. I had to meet some hermanos that I never met before.
That's what's up, man. Awesome. So anything? No, man. I mean, let's get into how your. Did you go? This is the first open mat up here, right? You went down to Maryland.
Yes.
This is the first open mat up north. A little bit bigger than the one in Maryland.
Oh,
right.
Absolutely.
What was your, like, when you came in, you saw so many brothers there, I know that you enjoy seeing, I know you enjoy the meeting new bros, who train. But what was it when, you walked in? Obviously you came a little bit late, your feelings on that, your experience on meeting the black belts that were there, yeah, man, how give us a little bit more on that experience, because I know we talked about a little bit afterwards. As far as like the training and the development.
And the most important part, belt promotion. So that's, like I said, that's coming up. But we talked about that a little bit. But I'll say this: walk into a room, a whole bunch of killers, right? People talk about jiu-jitsu. What is jiu-jitsu? People say it's pretty much a way to I jokingly say to my friends, it's you fold a person like clothes, like the person's still wearing the clothes, be able to fold them. But no, it's a good self-defense system. It's a good workout. I started my jiu-jitsu journey when I was 33, so not too long ago. I'm 36 now, and I feel like you're never too late to start. And when I walked in, I felt overwhelmed, but also felt excited. I was like, man, I see people were rolling, we're active. And the great aspect about that is we talk about when you reach to the pinnacle, about being a black belt, there's only a small percentage of folks that continue that journey. Most people start at white belt, and then people stop at coming in after they reach that blue belt. Maybe because life happens, right? People start families. They don't make time for it, and that's unfortunate, but it's also understandable too. But when you get to that black belt level, and when I saw hermanos that had black belts on the open mat, I was surprised. I was like, okay, this is freaking amazing, man. You don't get this opportunity to interact with too many black belts, but let alone hermanos that have black belts, that's almost like I wouldn't say not even a 1%. That's like, I don't know, percent that you don't even see. So I was amazed, and the great thing about the open mat too is I had opportunity to talk to these black belts, ask them questions. As an analyst, as an overthinker, I love to ask questions to improve my game, and then not just talk about my game, but also find out more about them. Like how do they reach that level? What aspects they kind of like find challenging as a white belt to move forward to the next promotional belt, and the important thing that they mentioned, and it's funny because you talk about like always beating down yourself, like having those challenges and battles with yourself mentally, because that for me is what Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out is. It's almost playing chess, and that's one thing I love about the sport. It's always involving. You don't have one answer to one thing. There's always multiple answers, right? And that's what I enjoyed about coming into that open mat. When I first came in, I was, like I said, I was overwhelmed. I felt that heat, the condensation of sweat, because people were working. We had a room of killers, but we love each other, so that was awesome too.
Yeah, man. It's interesting. We were talking about that yesterday, especially after Diego got promoted. We have some pictures where we're all lined up, and to see 5 black belts that are part of LUL that represent the fraternity in the jiu-jitsu community. I would love to know if that exists anywhere else, right? Any other fraternities or any other organizations that have, that level of involvement in the jiu-jitsu community at that level, right? You probably have people. I know I've seen people who are part of other organizations that do train, but I don't know of anybody who's at a black belt level or beyond, right? With first degree, second degree, or anything like that. And we have that in LUL, which is amazing. To be able to stand there with the 4 other gentlemen, it is truly a treat for the people who come out to the open mat. And right now we're on the screen. We have a picture. Probably this is one of my favorite pictures of the night. When we took the group picture at the end, we all had the shirts. And the beautiful thing about this event is we try to give a little bit more, right? We try to make it a little special. We had, we catered. We had some food, some finger food, which was amazing.
Empanadas, they were delicious.
Empanadas were banging, man. Those empanadas were delicious. They were huge, man. And we'll talk a little bit about how that happened. And we got some shirts done. And the shirts, high quality shirts, man. Honestly, I was telling Diego, man, we got cheap up, and this thing is becoming a little expensive, man. Let's get the cheap shirts. And when I came in, I saw the high quality shirts. I was like, bro, I told you to get the cheap shirts, and he was like, oh man, I forgot. You sure you said that? But I'm glad that happened. I'm glad, because I was over here when bros were taking the shirts and getting ready to take the picture. They put them on, and they were like, oh man, this is my favorite shirt. Look at this, is nice. And that for me, was like, yeah, this is the reason why we're doing it, because and the reason why we did the shirts, the reason why we did the food, the whole event in general. And then this picture for me was like the representation of what the night was. Smiles, everybody together, everybody in unison. And I feel like we look like a soccer team right here, right? And so for me, this is awesome. To have 27 people. I know we had 35 registered. Some people couldn't make it, but 27 people come out and support the way they did. And we had 2 groups, and we actually, if you guys have not seen the exclusive, go ahead and on YouTube check out the exclusive. So we had 2 cameras, one where we had the podcast going, and the other one where we were actually filming live what was going on the other side. So you got to see the roles, you got to see the techniques being taught, and then we had a nice session with the black belts where they were answering questions, and that was pretty cool. I kind of had to sign off real quick because I wanted to benefit. I was telling Fernando, man, we got to go, because they're saying they got some gems, they're spitting some gems, and we're here not listening. So, but this was amazing, man. This was for me one of the best moments.
And I also got to add that Diego was an excellent cameraman, running around, kind of giving the hermanos nice angles on their rolls.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, I was trying to like not interrupt what was going on, but at the same time trying to, man, it was too close to the other camera. I couldn't get close to the outside, so I was trying to avoid that feedback. But just the just in that photo, I mean, like, yeah, you see a nice group. It was very interesting putting it together. Exciting. We were really like working ourselves up to the event. Even like, Professor Lewis, Professor Omar, Adam, we were really excited. And, we had 35 people sign up, 36 people sign up, and we were a little worried. We were like, all right, if at least 50% come, we still get a nice number, right? 15 people, that's not too bad. And it was a really nice event. I enjoyed every second of it. I think it turned out extremely well. It was the first one that we had about maybe like 10 to 15, like 10 or 12 bros. And then as we went along, this was our biggest, and I hope that we can continue growing. Those who didn't make it, hopefully you can see the photos, you can see the videos, and be excited for the next one. And we are looking to take it to the road, right? We are looking to take it to Maryland and hopefully other states or other schools. So
the Mid-Atlantic.
yeah, I mean, it's definitely just the beginning. Just the beginning in terms of after a difficult year, right? After a long year of waiting, after a long year of ups and downs. So I think it's just the beginning of making things grow. And yeah, it was just nice to also see a whole bunch of bros who didn't who didn't train or who don't train, but came in to give it a shot, came in to ask questions, get their feedback, get their experience as well. It was just an awesome night all around.
And going on to that, adding on to that, we had a lot of folks that are fathers, right? That this was their first time rolling, right? And the reason they got into it was because they had sons or daughters that they enrolled into a martial arts school, and they always found that interesting. Like, how do I join kind of an open mat? And this, like I said, this is a great segue for hermanos to kind of join. Even when you say you have family, when you're a father, you still have time. If you could take your daughter to one of these sessions or sons to their martial arts school, they might have Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Check it out.
Yeah, and that question came up, and I didn't get a chance to talk about it a little bit because there was so many people had so many questions, and I wanted to leave it for the people who were just experiencing it for the first time, and I didn't want to take too much time. But now that we have this opportunity here, and if you guys are listening, so I actually have my kids who train in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu on and off, right? Sometimes they want to do it, sometimes they don't. But I actually got my 15-year-old started in martial arts in general, like around 4 years old, and it wasn't really like go train. I think it was a little easier to segue him into it because I was training, right? So I'd bring him to classes that I was teaching, and for them at that time with the kids classes, a lot of playing, a lot of running around and stuff like that. But as he got older, he's again he's 15, and he trains. He's trained frequently for quite a while, consistently for a while, probably like 2-3 times a week. And now he has different interests and stuff like that, but he makes time to get on the mats every now and then. But I tell you, we were talking about one of the things we talked about, and I think AP mentioned this, is like, even if they train for the sake of learning self-defense, that's enough, right? That's like probably the main reason that they should be doing it, so that they can feel that level of confidence, self-esteem. And if they ever are encounter a certain situation, they know how to take care of themselves. And I confidently can say that my 15-year-old, even my younger ones, he can definitely take care of himself. And the reason why I say that is, so we run the program in Maryland, and we have some guys coming out, and he rolled with one of the other white belts there. He's probably like a 3-stripe white belt right now, and bigger guy, stronger guy, and he caught him in an armbar. My kid's 15 years old, caught him in an armbar, and it wasn't like he gave it to him or anything like that. No, he caught him in a legitimate armbar, and I think in a legitimate omoplata. And I was looking at my kid move, and I'm like, where'd you learn that, right? Like,
no, you said I taught you that. I'm proud, father.
I know. I was like, man, you must have been paying attention, because other times he's just doing this, like, and I'm like, yo, did you get that? He's like, no, what happened? But he's it's registering, right? Yeah. He's he's doing, and to see him do that to an older person who's stronger, who's fully developed and stuff like that, and a kid who's still kind of going through development, I'm like, yo, that's the reason why we want to empower our kids, because these are useful skills, right? Useful skills that they could benefit them for the rest of their lives. So any fathers that are out there that are listening, I highly recommend, we highly recommend that you guys start them martial arts. And we're going to be a little biased, man. We're going to say, start them with jiu-jitsu, man. Start them with jiu-jitsu, because it's the greatest tool, one of the greatest tools you'll ever give them, that sense of confidence and self-esteem. That is one of the greatest things that you can give your kids, man.
You mentioned so the kids who he's like, oh, like where'd you learn this, right? Did you pay attention in class? And the amazing thing when it comes to the kids like that I've seen, sometimes you think they're not paying attention. Their eyes are wandering elsewhere, and they're picking up the technique. They're picking up the moves without you. I teach a kids program, and even Coach Fred and myself, some of the kids, like, they're all over the place. Like, when we look at them, we're like, you're not paying attention, you're not paying attention. And now we got to a point in where we kind of know when they're not paying attention. And then we kind of, so even if they're not paying attention, we'll still break and do the drill. And then we see if they got it or not. And like 90% of the time, like, even though you think they weren't, they're doing the move, man. And it's amazing because, their brains are probably just exploring, right? Yeah. They're just trying to, like, get all the information in. And, like, they're not wandering around aimlessly. They're just, like, trying to learn, like, taking the environment, taking the, what's going on, the people that are there, like, and this is an amazing thing to watch, because when they actually do, and now you have some adults who, are staring at the technique, and then you tell them to drill it, and they're like, they don't know what to do.
No, it's
amazing thing.
Kids are like sponges. They immediately grab onto a concept. Like you mentioned, you don't think they're paying attention. They might be wandering enough, but we were kids too. What do? We almost had like our eyes wander off to different things. We'd be like cats. We see a light, we're like, ooh, where's the light? But like for us adults, our learning process is a little bit slower. Some people might catch concepts easy. Some people like myself have to be coach. Can you show me that one more time, please?
Awesome, man. Yeah. So I want to ask, a lot of things happened that night, and you got to roll. You said you got a chance to get in there and jump on the mat, get some rolls in. Who'd you roll with? Who was the toughest roll?
Ooh, I feel like everyone was a tough roll, right? I'm going to be PC about it. Everyone was a tough roll. But yeah, no, I had the opportunity to roll with Dr. Justin Rios. It was a great opportunity to roll with him and learn as we were rolling. We were almost like flow rolling, right? So it wasn't like competitive; it's more like flow rolling. And the thing I liked about it was that he just, I don't know, he's a smaller frame hermano, but he was able to like put me down, do immediate sweeps, and I had to ask him, okay, like, I knew I was an elastic guard, but I was like, how do I escape out of it? Because I have a little bit more of a top game I'm developing because I'm a heavier dude. I'm a big boy, right? And he kind of showed me the technique a little bit. I was like, okay, so that's a great thing. So if a man did a move on you, a sweep or technique, I was able to ask them afterwards, like, hey, how did you learn, or how did you do that technique? Because I want to learn. I want to ask these questions so I can improve my game. So he was an excellent roll. He was my first roll when I got in. So as soon as I got in, I changed. So I was late. I changed and I rolled with them. My second roll, I would say, is with the black, our black belt, right? Hermano Adam. So I got the opportunity to roll with him, and he had a smooth transition. He worked the bottom first and then worked my leg. And that's the thing. I feel like whenever someone touches my leg, I always go like, ooh, like that's a red flag for me, because I previously injured, my knee playing soccer. So I do other sports too, right? MCL, PCL, ACL tear. And then as soon as he got my leg, I was like, oh man, how do I escape out of this? But he wasn't there to crank it. He's more like, okay, I got your leg. And as the higher belts, they kind of let us lower belts kind of move a little bit to work on the technique, and that's the great thing about that, right? About that hermandad, about being and rolling with someone with experience, is that they show you exactly, okay, I have you here, but how they want to know how you're going to escape from that position. So I had opportunity to roll with him, so that was great. And my last roll, I'd say now the newly promoted blue belt, Brandon. So I had a great opportunity to roll with him. And the first time I saw him was at the open mat here in Maryland. That happened, I think, was 2 years ago, 1 year ago, I think.
Before the pandemic, yeah.
So he was an excellent role too. Like I would say, he was probably my tougher role.
Yeah, that's great, man. That you got to roll with different levels. I didn't get a chance to roll with Justin. I really wanted to, but I saw him moving around and he was very fluid. Had a really good guard, and he was I saw like he was balled up, very flexible. But yeah, man, I wanted to get a chance to roll with him. Did you get a chance to roll with Justin?
I did.
Okay.
Very nice.
How was his game? I want to hear your Diego, your experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great role. I mean, as far as like the back and forth, I like rolling with those that can also. the flow was very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So because I get to learn a lot as well, I get to find mistakes. I get to find of myself, and kind of like starting to, without the worry of
Getting
the
smashed.
worrying about the worrying about the strength and trying to outpower or trying to
Yeah.
go back and forth, and so the technique was there, the accuracy, the speed, so that was a very fun role. And I wasn't worried because if he would have messed me up, he would have just had to crack my back, saying afterwards. So
He would have put you back together. That's
right,
what
exactly. That's what it is. But it was again, man. Overall, it was it's a nice, like you said, to be able to talk to black belts, let alone be in a room full of hermanos that you have different connections, right? You have a connection from a fraternal perspective. You have a connection from a jiu-jitsu perspective. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention that as we get older, right? We pledge in a I pledge as an undergrad. I go in and you have certain activities that you can be involved in, and now we had a huge gap in between, and trying to figure out how we can give back to the community, how we can be involved, and to be able to continue doing something that we enjoy, that we love, which is jiu-jitsu, and being able to plug it into a beautiful fraternity, a beautiful network. It's an amazing thing, right? It gives us a little bit more value in the jiu-jitsu itself, right? Because now when we're teaching, we have, we're able to share so much. We're able to share so much, of what we actually enjoy and love doing with this community, So, and again, we're looking to expand it. We're looking to, maybe even have events with other organizations. Again, just to kind of, we're not going to stop. God willing, gives us, healthy and beneficial lives that we can, again, benefit the community. But we're not going to stop teaching. We want to continue teaching. We want to continue sharing. And hopefully we can expand it. Hopefully we can make this grow.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. Yeah, the sky's the limit. Honestly, New York, New Jersey is kind of where it started, and obviously there's so much, so many other areas where we want to advocate for hermanos training jiu-jitsu, or in general people training jiu-jitsu, self-defense, fitness, and stuff like that. And we took the show to Maryland that one time right before the pandemic, right? Because we were talking about this the other day too. Is I don't know if you stuck around, but when we went to Buffalo Wild Wings right afterwards, I think you had a breakout early that day.
I did, but I was able to purchase the great gi that you guys have. The LUL gi.
Yeah. And but it was right before things shut down, right? And but we had a chance to get together, at least that one moment, share for that what was 2 hours or so of half seminar, half just sparring and hanging out. But we want to do it again, and we want to go take it to other places, or we want to have hermanos start up their own little networks wherever they may be, because obviously it might be hard to go all the way to California or whatever, but there might be hermanos that are training, right? So we want to be able to provide them the blueprint, maybe the guidance, and who knows, maybe take a trip out there, or have one of the black belts go out there and do a seminar for them, or whatever the case may be. So I think that would be pretty cool to kind of open it up and try to help hermanos kind of get a little bit more involved, and maybe create an opportunity in their local areas to have a Lambdas Hurol open mat. I think that would be awesome. So,
I'm loving these ideas. These are great.
Yeah,
they're just almost like flow roll. They're just flowing in.
Well, events like this, talking with bros like yourself, and after the classes, during sessions like this, and it just helps us. It just helps the whole program grow. So yeah, man, it was
Yeah, and
awesome.
So let's keep on talking about little takeaways. So I'll tell you a takeaway from my takeaway was convincing hermanos to start training at that night. So when we were going around the room, there were a few hermanos who were like, oh, I thought about it, and this brother's always kind of trying to get me to do it, and I don't know. But now that they came that night. I think it was maybe like two brothers that mentioned it. I don't recall their names. I'm sorry about that, but I do recall the conversation, and they were like, "Man, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna start training," And that for me was like, this is the reason why we do this. In addition to all the beautiful things that happened, the fact that it convinced an amount who might have been on the fence, and we talked about that before, like, I don't know if I should, I don't know. It convinced them to, like, yo, I'm gonna start training for myself for sure. I know Hugo was one of them. Hugo from Salon chapter, he came through, and before he left, he was like, yo, I'm gonna sign up my daughter, and I'm definitely give it a shot too. So I know he was one of them, and there was another younger brother there, who was Russell's boy. I can't recall his name. I'm not sure, and I apologize again, but Russ brought him, and he was like, I'm gonna do it too. He had been training martial arts for a little bit. Said that his dad was like, you shouldn't do it, but he was like, now it convinced him. Mm-hmm. So for that to happen at our event, to be like, I'm sold. Now I'm gonna start jiu-jitsu, wherever it may be, right? It doesn't have to be at at Roll Star. It doesn't have to be, as long as you're training, wherever it may be, and you can bring that knowledge back to this LUL open mat type of format. That for me was like, this is it. This is one of the reasons why we're doing this. Yeah, man.
Yep.
So anything else? Any other takeaways?
My biggest takeaway, and I'll say this: talking about, I'm a white belt, and I've been training for maybe 3.5 years, but on and off. So one thing we talked about mostly, and I talked about the higher belts, mentioned this a lot, was the idea of consistency, right? Being able to attend as many classes as you can throughout the week. And I think one of the biggest reasons why I didn't or stopped going was life changes, a significant other. So I meet a new girl, right? But now I'm engaged, so this is my forever. But and the good thing about my partner is that she promotes it. She's like, hey Andrew, you have a stressful day. Go train. I want you to train. Go train. Yeah. So having a supportive partner is always key, especially when you want to start a family with an awesome woman. That's pretty cool. But I'll say the fact is too, when you're injured, when I felt like I was injured, I felt like I couldn't go or attend because I would be like, man, my back, and I had like serious L4, L5, so lumbar herniated disc issues, or I might have like maybe severely sprained my ankle because this sport, I would say this martial art, you're always injured. You're always going to have some nagging pain or injury, right? But you're still able to go. One thing I started realizing is, hey, if I could go attend these classes and take notes and let the coach know, hey, I messed up my shoulder or I messed up my back. Is there anything else I could do outside of that? This is like one of the martial arts or sports where the coach is able to kind of like cater to what injures you to kind of help you along your journey. So you're able to attend the classes. You might not be able to spar. They might say, hey, stay off the mat. You're not sparring, but you could probably do some of these other techniques. Or, hey, we love you to come in, take these notes, and learn that way. Because if you're not there, if you're not rolling, you can also learn by watching, taking notes. A lot. You'll find a lot of professors, a lot of coaches, they want that. They want the students to learn. And that's something I started realizing. I was like, oh, I could go back. I could ask these questions. Even though I'm not physically there rolling on the mat, I'm there taking notes. And that's also helpful for my mental game, too.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with that 100%. And I know some of the coaches there talked about what's that right amount of time that people should be on the mat per week for you to see progression. And one of the things that I know AP specifically mentioned, like if you can make it once a week, it's better than not coming in at all, right? Even if you do once a week, you're still going to see progress. But if you want to see significant progress, right, and make strides in jiu-jitsu, you definitely have to put a little bit of time on the mat. And I agree with the injuries, man. I think my first major injury in jiu-jitsu was back in 2010, and I was at a tournament. I fell, they took me down, fell right on the point of my shoulder, and my clavicle bone just popped up. So I have an AC joint tear, level 3. Yeah. And Diego was there too, and I was like this. I was like, I remember after it happened, when I got taken down, I was like, he got in side control, and I was like, I can't move my shoulder. I was like, oh man, I can't move it. So I just tapped because I was like, there's something wrong. And I was like, well, all right, let me just, give in. I can't move. We went to the paramedic that was there on the scene, and I was like, yo, just pop it back in. I gotta go compete. Pop it back in. She was like, no, I think it's a little bit more serious than that. I recommend you go to the hospital right now. So they put me on the ambulance. This was in New York. We went to the hospital, took some x-rays, said, yeah, your AC joint is completely torn. I'm like, okay, what's the options? You're going to have to go see a specialist, but you're going to be in a brace for quite a while. And and then I had to go to therapy and all that stuff. So that happens, right? These things happen, and again, it's not to scare anybody. That was just kind of a freak thing that happened. It's not to scare anybody, but the reality is, it's an aggressive sport. It's a physical sport, and there are going to be injuries. And one of the things I've realized over the years is I've become very, very well versed in medicine. Like, I feel like I'm like an unofficial doctor, right? I know how to tape
Mr. WebMD.
So, right, exactly. I know how to tape things up. I know what to take, when to take it. It's amazing how much you learn about yourself and how to take care of yourself while you train jiu-jitsu. So it does happen. Like right now, we talked about it the other day, and as we get older, right? We're 40 years old now, and I'm like, you don't recover the same way as the younger guys do. Their metabolism is much faster, and they just recover a little bit better. And you got to take care of yourself just a little bit more. But absolutely, you get to work around these things. And I tell my students is, you learn to work around some of your injuries. So if you have a knee injury, okay, let's work on maybe off your back, right? Let's work from staying away from that. Don't start passing or blasting doubles or anything like that, right? We work around it, and I think a lot of gyms, professors, they do that. I know we do that because we don't want the student to be off the mat for so long, right? You kind of fall off the horse to get back on. It's really hard, right? You lose a lot of motivation. But
and you lose a training partner too. That's important. You want to keep your training partner. You don't want to injure your training partner. So if they're injured too, or you're injured, like, hey, listen, my back hurts. Like, okay, so I'll be cautious when we roll. They're aware of that. They respect that.
Exactly. That level of transparency when you're not in communication, when you're rolling with somebody. Hey, look, and it happened yesterday. As a matter of fact, when we went to the ceremony, the promotion ceremony, the seminar, I tweaked my knee. It happened, right? I tweaked my knee. I rolled with Brandon the next row, and I said, "Hey, Brandon, I tweaked my knee a little bit. Or what are you working on?" And he's like, "Whatever you want." I was like, "Okay, look, my knee's messed up. I don't want to play off my back because I don't want you to put pressure on my knee. Let me work on my passing." And he's like, "All right." So boom, he just adjusted. He went on his back. I went to top position, and we worked, right? And that's the type of communication that you have with your partner. Like, you let him know, "Hey, listen, my shoulder's a little messed up. Okay, I know we won't go for kimuras, right?
Mm-hmm.
If my shoulder's messed up, I'm definitely not gonna roll with Manny, right? I'm gonna stay away from him, shoulder locking me, right?
You hear that, Manny?
You stay. So you recognize your body, and you're able to communicate with others, and I think it's a beautiful thing. Yeah. So you got something to say?
No.
All right. So I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I wanted to talk a little bit about Hotel Roll Star, right? And that experience, right? And for us, so tell us, what is Hotel Roll Star?
I gotta say, one of the aspects of Open Mat, it's the awesome and great and wonderful hospitality that Roll Star had. I would say it's beyond 5 stars, right? So Airbnb, forget that. Hotel options, forget that. We have Roll Star Hotel. I was gracious enough, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me not only to roll on Open Mat, but you guys had an excellent shower. I was able to crash on the couch. It was beautiful, and you set me up with food too. The only thing that I didn't have was you guys tucking me in like a little baby in a blanket. That's the only thing. If I had like my critiques and that mint on the pillow, that's the only thing I'll say. But no, I appreciate the hospitality, especially driving up 5 hours from Virginia. I was messaging everyone. The man was like, "Hey, I'm traveling up there. I have no idea where we're going to stay. You guys helped me save $1 or $2 on the tolls and on gas." that was amazing. But yeah, it was a wonderful experience. This is if you guys watch the Flow Grappling series, Daisy Fresh, those killers sleep on the mat. This is like my first semi experience of sleeping in a gym right after a roll. So I felt like a badass. It's like, yeah.
It's real. That's awesome.
But I respect that. That's about the hermandad, like that family connection. So I respect you guys welcome me in like it was my home too. So that's a wonderful aspect.
Absolutely, man.
Awesome.
And we're gonna take a quick break right now, and when we get back, let's talk a little bit about the promotion. Cool? All right.
Sounds awesome.
All right, we're back talking with our special guest host Andrew. We just finished talking about Hotel Roll Star and
Six
the
stars.
amenities
Or
that he
more than five
experienced, six
stars.
stars, and
Minus the
and
minus
we're
the mint
super
on the pillow.
We're gonna make it an Airbnb soon.
Airbnb.
Hey, future events. Like that's another great idea. Open mat, then hang out like almost like a sleepover with Hermanos talking about like jujitsu, whatever. So another concept.
Absolutely, no, yeah, and that I'm glad that worked out for you, man. I know when we were talking at the end, I was like, "Hey, man, we're you're staying in a hotel," and he's like, "Oh, right here," like I was like, "Okay."
He told me too. He told me too
That
that
makes
same.
sense.
Yeah.
He turned around. He looks at me. He's like, "I'm staying here." I was like, "Oh yeah." I'm just like, "Of course." Like I don't mind, but he forgot to answer me on the chat.
Yeah, that's
My
good.
bad.
No, I'm glad
My
it worked out.
That's good.
I'm glad.
I don't mind. I know. Yeah, man. I'm happy that you did because, like, yeah, it is. Everything is there. I mean,
Yeah.
you're able to.
I'll say the funny part about that was when I was like, "Oh yeah, where are you staying?" I'm like, "I'm staying here." Like, "Oh yeah, where in Jersey you stayed?" I'm like, "No, I'm staying right here."
Literally, right here, right where I'm sitting. This is where
No wonder you weren't changing. I was like, "Yo, everybody's
Yeah, I was
leaving."
like, I'm comfortable. I'm calling my spot on the map.
Awesome. No, but I'm happy that you stayed. I'm happy that you had you got to stick around and.
Yeah, and that was available. That was available for everybody, right? And and hopefully for the future, like Andrew said, if you ever come out and you need a place to crash, I know we even extended it to Justin. I know, but he had made arrangements to go back to the Bronx. But yeah, we told him because he was heading out late one day, and I was like, man, just crash here. Actually, the next morning on Saturday, he was like, man, I'm tired, and I was like, man, you should just crash here. He was like, you're right, man, I should have just crashed here. But I mean, and it's open for everybody, and hopefully for future events, those accommodations are be available. We'll put mints like in different sections of the mat. Just pick one, that's your spot. So, but yeah, so in addition to an amazing event on Friday, we had a second event on Saturday. Not related to Lambdas who roll, but we obviously did have a lot of hermanos because a lot of hermanos do train at Diego's Academy, our academy, Roll Star. We had a special event. We had a seminar, and obviously we did promotions at the end. But one of the special things that happened is Professor Diego, got promoted to black belt right after 11 years plus years of training.
A little over 11.
Yeah, over 11 years. Got promoted to black belt by Professor Adam Rezovic. We flew him in and tried to surprise him. Kind of derailed a little bit off my plan, but it kind of came back on, and yeah, man, he got promoted. So I wanted to ask you, how does it feel, man?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
Honestly, it hasn't registered yet. To be honest with you, it's a little bit. And then I'll share why. But as far as the event is concerned, so I've been trying to. What is it? I'm sorry, he's putting up the. Yeah, so he's gonna share.
I'm gonna share with you real quick.
So I've been trying to kind of like ignore them a little bit in a good way, right? The guys in Chicago, my professors in Chicago, and mainly because again, this whole year was a tough year. I didn't train as much as I wanted to. There was a lot of obviously mental, physical, emotional, ups and downs that we wanted to, get through and all that. So, so as I the year progressed or whatnot, I wanted to make sure that I was more so mentally ready. Right, a little bit more sure in the techniques and the teaching and everything else that I had planned. So I was trying to ignore them a little bit, throughout the year and the year and a half, because I was like, man, I don't want to see you guys and you guys promote me and I'm not ready, and so I wasn't expecting anything. I wasn't expecting them to be here. So on Friday night, I saw another school who Professor Adam came in and he had a seminar with. So I knew he was in town.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I was like, all right, he's in town, he's having a seminar. Cool. We're gonna have our seminar this tomorrow, Saturday. And but then as I'm changing in the back room, everybody's calling me out, and they're like, oh, somebody's here, somebody's looking for you, somebody's here. And I thought it was somebody from, honestly, I thought it was somebody from like the town coming in to be like, oh, what are you guys doing? And whatever, for whatever reason. And then I see Professor Adam in the doorstep, and I'm questioning. I'm like, why are you here? I'm like, yo, so that threw me off. To be completely honest, that completely threw me off. Like that for me, my mind was like, I hope he doesn't promote me today, because I was like, yo, I seriously, I had to change. I went back, to wash up, and my whole plan, because the whole plan was to promote the guys, to train with the guys, to push everyone there, and like to basically be there for them, and like to make it about them 100%. So that threw me off. Like I was like, oh my god. In a small room. I was basically walking back and forth, like pacing, like, man, what's going on, But I didn't want to overthink it. I thought he was just here. He's like, oh, I'm just here, I stopped by. I wanted to surprise you. I was like, all right, cool, because I haven't seen him in a year. It was a very beautiful surprise just to see him in general, because I appreciate his company. I look up to him. He's a beautiful person. Professor Adam. So I was really happy that he was there. But then I was like, all right, we went about our business, and I looked at my brother, and I was like, yo, he was coming. He looked at me. He turned around. He was like, no. I was like, all right, yeah, I don't know if you're telling the truth or not, but fine. I was like, we got to keep going. We got like about 10 minutes to start anyway. So he said no, and he walked out. He was making a phone call, whatever, and like, so I was like, all right, cool. I didn't think anything of it. I thought he was, he was in town. He stopped by to say hello, and that's it. So when we started, I was excited. I asked him, I was like, can you start can you share something? And he's like, yeah, absolutely. And for me, I was like, man, I didn't put this together. I didn't ask you to come. So I was like, I don't want to ask. I don't want to force him to, if he's here just to visit, I don't want to force him. So anyway, we started, we started introducing, the whole event, and then he started giving a few words, and then he got into, how, jiu-jitsu and like the leadership, and having to, how the commitment, the learning of jiu-jitsu, and then he went into, oh, we're also going to recognize. Once he said recognize someone, I was like, man, I couldn't know. I registered to compete in July, the 10th and the 17th, Grappling Industries, as a brown belt, and I had plans already. I was like, man, I want to do these things that, because again, I had mental goals, I had physical goals that I wanted to accomplish, and but when he started, I was like, man. He caught me off guard completely. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. So, my brother took out the belt. I mean, he gave Professor Adam the belt, and then, they just started, had that promotion. So it was very, very overwhelming overall. The surprise was definitely there. I was so focused on the event, our event, that I wasn't even thinking. I wasn't even putting two and two together. Like, it was too difficult, really, because I was so excited for the guys that it was really difficult for me to think that, oh, this is something for myself. But anyway, that's how it went down. The surprise was there. I really appreciate, the way everything happened. I thank my brother for putting that together, and Professor Adam for coming down, and supporting us and our event. And as far as the black belt, like, it's really, like, I haven't registered it yet, right? I haven't like really accepted that fact in that sense, because, obviously on Friday I'm a brown belt, on Saturday I'm a black belt, right? And that step is, it's a really big step, because I asked a few black belts now, like, technically it's the end of a specific era, right? It's the end of something, right? Because you go from white, blue, purple, brown, black. So for many people, it's the last belt, right? Because then, there's stripes in the belt, and then there's red belt, and but to get there, like, it's years and all that. So now, it's a bittersweet, And I told you Friday, I was like, man, I envy you guys because I envy those who start and there are white belts, and I'm like, man, savor that, right? Because it's just gonna keep going and keep going and keep going until you get your stripes, you change your color, and now black belt. Now, for me, it's what do I do with this responsibility?
Mhm.
Even with the brown belt, I was like, man, I don't feel like I'm ready because I want to because they're big steps, right? Brown belt and then black, but it's just a matter of the responsibility. So now, how do I take this belt? How do I fill into the shoes, right? As a black belt, and how do now I have, which I'm looking forward to it, right? But now it's the end of one book. Now trying to figure out how can I continue learning, continue developing myself, and continue sharing, right? With everyone else. So it's for me, it's a bittersweet moment because again, just literally the night before, I'm over here telling you like, man, savor it. I wanted to savor the brown belt a little bit longer. That was, one of my purple belt and brown belt, one of my most interesting, times. And, it's just a matter of, I want to, for me, I didn't feel ready, right? I've never felt ready from purple belt onward. Even blue belt, but blue belt was kind of like the training was a little bit different, the experience was a little bit different. There weren't as many schools to go around, and so it was a little bit different of a progress and litmus test that I had. But it's trying to make sure that I continue benefiting myself on that level now, right? And I know that people are going to come after me. I have a target on my back, and I even said I had certain goals that I wanted to reach, and and I even told them because I was like, I want you guys to know, obviously, and one of them was like literally I wanted to, and not because of the submission itself, and not because I was able to submit these guys. It was out of one, it was a motivator for me, a goal that I wanted to set for myself. But I wanted to get a submission on my brother, as a brown belt.
He's like, still not gonna happen.
And it's still not. I wanted to get a submission on AP.
That's not going to happen.
That's never going to happen. And Professor Omar.
That same thing.
And that may never happen as well. But those goals. But I swear to you, when I made those goals, and I thought that as a brown belt, this past year, it just made me think a little differently. I knew that it may, would have, it may not happen, but I told them, I was like, look, before my black belt, I want to submit you guys, and and I am I'm gonna try or whatever, and it just gave me a sense of motivation. It gave me a goal to look forward to, and it allowed me honestly to have more. It allowed me to have more fun in my roles with them. Because then I was looking for something, and I was like, all right, I didn't get it, but I tried something. I remember when I was telling you the day before too, I was like, it's sometimes we just have to try things, right? We just have to if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it never was going to work to begin with, right? But if you're stalling, we were talking about stalling, but if you're not trying it, if you're not, giving it a shot, then you're never going to know whether it's working for you or not, whether you're developing or not.
I will say this, that just so folks know that the conversations that we had. So it's almost prolific that we had this conversation on Friday because we had the opportunity to talk to hermanos, and one of my two biggest questions for you, Diego, was okay. My goal is to go on to the next level. What advice do you have besides talking to your coach? What recommendations do you have? And you told me a little bit about your journey as far as, you felt like you weren't ready for that next level, for that black belt, because you wanted to work on these small little things that you wanted to make adjustments. And then the other thing that we talked about was I was forget. So that was one thing, right? The other thing that we talked about too is stalling. Sometimes I stall in turtle position, and I don't try to work out of it, or I don't try to escape from that tough side control. It's what recommendations do you have? Because I overthink. So everyone's aware of the conversations that we had on Friday. These are the conversations we had on Friday, and the next day, what happened? Man, you promoted to a black belt. So it's crazy we had these conversations.
Yeah. And and honestly, like, these are the things that, make more sense for me a little bit, conversations like this, right?
Mhm.
And then, so for me, it's just a matter of, now trying to figure out, again, opening up a new chapter, trying to figure out, things on, not necessarily, I'm not caring too much about the belt itself, right? Because, like we all say, the belt is just to hold up your pants, the belt is just ties around your waist, there's as a brown belt, there were white belts, blue belts, purple belts that would make me work, that would submit me, that would put me to that test, and we all have that, like, oh man, like, I don't want to get tapped out, I don't want to do this, but like, it serves as a, again, it serves as a motivator, and it just depends on how you take it, right? Do you take it as something to beat you down, or do you take it as like, oh, you know what, it'll beat me down just for a few seconds, but then I have to figure out the solution for it, so now it's just a matter of figuring out, the like, how to make it work, how can I fit into that black belt mentality, how can I fit into that, how can I fit into that black belt mentality, how can I fit into that, you know how can I fill in those shoes, right? Because again, it's a huge responsibility. It happened one, again, Friday brown belt, Saturday, it's completely different, and just trying to take it in with like I overthink as well, in terms of, like, now I'm trying to figure out solutions. I haven't been able to enjoy the moment a little bit, because I'm like, man, like, I wasn't, like, I've always, like, and I say this over and over, like, I didn't feel like I was ready to accept it, to receive it, but now it's there, now it's here. So how can I now, make that a benefit for myself, make that a benefit for the community, and continue, continue growing,
That's what's up. We have some comments from some viewers. Well, one of them is our co-host, Fernando, who said, "Congratulations, Dave, on your promotion of black belt. Well deserved. Para siempre, Fernando." I mean, unfortunately,
Siempre,
couldn't
man.
make it today because he was driving down to Maryland. But yeah,
Para
we miss
siempre.
you, man. Hopefully, we'll catch up with you later on. And we have another one from one of our students in Maryland, Sala, who said, "Congrats, Coach Diego. Can't wait to roll with you again, inshallah." Awesome,
All right.
man.
Thank you, guys. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, I know it's so. Just going back to, again, like, it's a little bit tough, emotionally as well, because, like I said, it's the end of something, right? Like, we can't ignore the fact that it's the end of something. You're not gonna get a new belt anytime soon, man. So, you may throw, but I am looking forward to that crisp black belt to turn white again. So that's what so I'm looking forward to that. And you know so now my mentality, kind of shifted a little bit in now when I look at black belts, right? Like, for example, when I saw my brother and, AP and, Omar and Adam now with their black belts. Adam got recently promoted, a few months ago as well. But now, like, for example, when I see AP's belt, it's a little bit more worn, right? You can see, the white
The
underneath a little
mileage.
bit. So yeah, so now it's like, okay, before it's like, okay, when as a white belt, you see a blue belt, you're like, man, blue belt. A blue belt, you see a purple belt, you're like, man, that's the next goal. When you see this, so now, like, as a brown belt, I wasn't thinking too much about changing, because I was like, I enjoy this time. But now I look at it and I was like, okay, so that's the goal now, right? And it's because of time, right? It's because of time of training. It's your efforts in training. It's your work in training. So now, I'm trying to, restructure, the mental game to that.
That's awesome, man. I didn't think about it that it's the last belt we're gonna get for a long time. And so that means
Bittersweet.
yeah, man. Oh, man, that's crazy. Because it is exciting to get a new belt, right? Going from white to blue, and from blue to purple, purple to brown, and that is that special moment when you get a brand new belt. In this case, you're getting a black belt. Yeah, you get striped, but I think it takes like about 35 years to get to your red belt, right, from your black belt. That means like I'm gonna be like 75, right, if it ever happens, man. But I mean, hopefully it will, right? Hopefully it will. But yeah, that's crazy. I didn't think about that.
I'll
Yeah,
say
man. So
we'll have Dr. Justin around to make sure your back's okay.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
stretch.
so
So you'll be rolling for years.
yeah, man, that's the goal, right? That's one of the goals. But yeah, I didn't think about that. That's interesting to think of it that way. But yeah, I the way I like seeing it is like, the cycle restarts. Like I'm when I got my black belt, it's like, okay, now it's back to the drawing board. I'm a white belt all over again, and I'm gonna paint a new canvas, um, and just re doing what I do, but trying to find the little things where little holes where I can continue making improvements on. And one of the things I'm really doing at this stage is, and it's really keeping that white belt mindset, is try new things. Like I'm trying to start playing new things that I've never played before, try to get outside of my comfort zone again. Working on different sequences, working on different guards. Like I've been really trying to develop like a worm guard. Because I'm interested in that level of control. And I've been teaching and training like this other position, like it's called Enter the Matrix. I mean, it's like this inversion thing, and at 40 years old, trying to invert is like, oh, my lumbar is not happening. Okay, I got to give it a little bit more time.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you have that white belt mindset. You just kind of go back and say, all right, let's see what else we can work on. So that's awesome, man. So we got one more comment from Gabe. Shout out to Gabe who came through. Congrats, Diego. And Gabe, man, shout out to you for coming through all the way again from Maryland and getting to rolls. Yeah, he was actually my first roll. Really, really good roll. It was very similar to Justin, kind of flow rolling and stuff. And yeah, and he's and from the last year that we rolled, he definitely felt a lot different, man. Not stronger. His guard was really good, moved really well. So awesome to have Gabe there with us, man.
I just wanted to plug in because we're the whole promotion thing. I wanted to congratulate those who got promoted from our students, and mainly for those who got the new belts, right? Who went from white to blue, well deserved. So congratulations to all the students, but and to the those who got promoted. It's a big step, and it's nice to see that progress. It's nice to see that change. To be able to be part of someone's journey and see the growth, right? And literally, like physically, and see the growth, see the changes, see the ups and downs, see when they're rolling, when they're 100%, when they're injured, when all these things. Like it's just a beautiful experience. And then to wrap a new belt around. It's just the icing on the cake, right? And we always say, like, I tell the students all the time, like, the belts, the stripes and the belts, they should only serve as a motivator, right? Because at the end of the day, like what's gonna happen? The next day, you just gotta continue training, right? It's not like, even though it may feel like you're getting superpowers the next day, right? And honestly, it does feel that way.
Sometimes it does.
Like you're like, whoa, why am I? It must be the belt. No, it's not the belt. It's just it may be just a little bit more confidence. It may be a little bit more self-esteem. It may be a little bit more where you're just trying new things and feeling more comfortable in your own skin, like things like that. Where like so at the end of the day, it's just a nice transition, a nice thing to see, from start to finish in this category, in this belt. So congratulations to all those guys, and looking forward to training with you guys in your new rank.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So we went a little bit above the hour, but I loved hearing what you had to say, Diego, man. And again, I didn't even think about, man, black is the last real belt that I'll get, but I am looking forward to breaking it in, and making it white. Seeing that fabric start ripping. That's definitely one of my goals, and just keep on moving forward. And one thing I will mention before we start wrapping up is I didn't realize, it didn't hit me, and we have a little different experience. I kind of knew I was getting my black belt because my professor had told me a week before, hey, this event is coming. I want to promote you to black belt.
Oh, so he told you in advance.
He told me in advance. And I was like, okay. And he's like, it's funny. And he was like, okay, make sure you bring a belt for me to give it to you. it was hilarious because when he gave his speech, like, okay, this brother's been training with me for in the mornings. He comes for privates, this and that, and he was like, all right, if not, come up. And then he looked at me. He's like, where's the belt? He's like, oh wait, let me go get it. So I open up my gym bag, pull it out, and give it to him. Little different experience, not it was magical, but not as magical. Obviously, the surprise is always a great feeling, and I wanted to create that for Diego, right? I wanted to create that moment where he just didn't know what was going on and he was completely clueless. And for that to happen, I really wanted him to have that experience. So when you think about that, it's unique in its own sense. And obviously, I appreciate mine. I appreciate my professor Ataish. He's an awesome guy. But a little different. But yeah, man, it just in knowing. But definitely the fact that it's your last belt, but breaking it in, I really do appreciate that mindset. Don't make it white. That's the goal. But what I was trying to say is that I had a little brain fart there for a second. The moment I realized that I was a black belt was actually when I taught class the next day or the following day. I was like, oh snap, I'm a black belt teaching class. And it didn't really feel different because I'm still teaching the same thing. But I realized after when we took the group picture, I was like, oh wow, I'm doing it at this level. And now it also validates, hopefully my teaching to my students will now say, yeah, my teacher's a black belt. So that's an awesome feeling too, that to know that your students now can say, yeah, Professor X, Professor X, Professor Diego, Professor Hernan. That definitely is a special thing. So
we do feel like superheroes, though. So
it does give you a little bit.
Jiu-jitsu does make you feel that.
It gives you a little bit of powers, I guess.
And I'll say it makes me feel like immortal as a white belt rolling with you guys. Now black belts. Like, oh man.
That's what's up. So Andrew, man, we're gonna wrap this up, man. I know we got things to do, and I don't want to take more of your time, but thank you so much for coming on. It was an awesome conversation. You got 1 minute to plug anything you want, any shout out anybody you want. So the floor is yours, my friend. Go ahead.
Well, Disciple MMA, my coach, my awesome coach, Coach Adam Levy. Tough roles with him, man, but I'm learning a lot. Black belt under David Reeves. And David Reeves got his black belt under Lloyd Irvin. And Lloyd Irvin got his black belt, of course, under Leo Dallas. So it's that lineage. But learning a lot, man. So if you're in Virginia, Mid-Atlantic, come on through. Happy to roll with you. And then I'll say another plug for hopefully the Mid-Atlantic region, right? We'll have an open mat for hermanos over here. But once again, Diego, congratulations. It was great meeting all the bros up in New York. I'll say New York because he came from New York. Up in Jersey, and I'll say Roll Star, 5-star hotel, more like a 6-star hotel. But we had the mint on the pillow. It'll be exceptional.
It'll be 7 stars at that moment.
There we go.
Thank you, sir. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you so much for joining us and for coming through this weekend.
Appreciate it. Para siempre, hermanos. I'll say that.
Para siempre. And I thank everybody for joining. I know we went over, but man, this was an awesome session. We had a great weekend, and we're hoping to recreate those moments very, very soon again. So with that said, have a great week, everybody. We'll be back next week. Para siempre.
Para siempre.